Hello, hello, beautiful people.
Welcome to the show.
It's called Conversations with R&B, and we just came up with it. So
With the name, yeah.
with the name.
I wanted to use another name, but she didn't.
Yeah, well, that would just limit us. But anyways, R&B stands for Rabreeth and
Bruno.
So hello, and stick around to find out what we're going to be talking about. A little bit introduction is we're going to be talking about a movie
Yeah, well, today we're
called
gonna...
Up.
Yes,
Sorry,
the animation.
the animation.
Yeah, the animation movie Up.
Yeah.
And what we basically wanted to do is like have a laid back conversation about the movie, but tackling the themes in psychology that are related with the movie. Here's the thing, it's just like, not because we graduate in psychology, we are experts on it, but we like to talk about it, we like to tackle about it, we like to learn about it. And if you guys have anything to say about it too, you know, we would love to hear it and learn from you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an open conversation where you can jump in and be like, hey, no, you're wrong. Actually, another terms in psychology is that perspective. So we're also talking about our own perspectives on grief in the said movie. So that's another point. Wow, this is
Okay, so let's start with the ice break question.
Yeah.
What was for you your first impression of the movie Up?
Man, it was a Disney movie, I would say. And like every other Disney movie, it leaves you with a lot of questions that you already know the answers to, but you still want to explore more of those questions. And one of my questions was like, oh, grief is such a basic need for human emotion, because every time we look in the movie, every time there is a mental breakdown for either of the characters, whether it's Mr. Fredricksen or whether it's Russell, there is a moment of aha right after the mental breakdown, which is of course very much correlated to how movies are structured. But if we're talking in terms of like psychology, that's something like you see in your daily lives as well. So that was my first impression, that what happens after you have a complete mental breakdown, or what happens after you throw that fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we look at the aftermath, and that was my first impression for the movie.
For the movie?
Yeah. What about you?
I feel like the first time I saw the movie, I rewatched it again so we could do this episode, but the first time I watched the movie, I don't know, like I felt like that little kid, like finding himself, you know, like he wanted to become this wilderness explorer. And then I could relate with that, because when I was a kid, I wanted to, I don't know, find something to do, like discover myself, you know, like find what was I made of.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do in my life. So I feel like that was the first impression that I got. It was like I could relate with that little boy somehow. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. That relatability with the characters is whether it's with Mr. Fredricksen or whether it's with Russell, because you can see both of them in their characters. They're the mirror image of one another. Like Russell is the child personification of
Carl.
Carl.
Yeah.
Because like when you see in the start of the movie, you realize like, oh, he's such a happy-to-go-lucky guy, and then he comes across his wife and he's not a big talker, but his wife is, right? So the reason I also say like Russell is that personification is because we always see when we look at another child, we always see the things that we never had. Mm-hmm. Like we look at other person and you're like, oh, that person's got that, I don't have that. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
Right? So he sees that speck of his wife in the child, but he also sees himself, right? If you look it through the perspective of Mr. Fredricksen. I don't know where this point is going, but you're getting my point. Yeah, so that's where it ends.
Okay. The other question would be like, did you expect it to like be so emotionally heavy, the movie?
No, I'm sorry. I'm a sucker for like watching really dense movies.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that disheartening. However, another movie that we can talk about would be Coco, right?
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was something, like, because I'm not comparing the movies, guys. It's both are great movies, but if I have to ask, like, which one had more impact on me, Coco had a different impact on me because there's like that whole um, elements of a bigger family, I would say, and a place where I come from, we come from big families, right? So that relatability part is a little bit more towards Coco than it is to Up. But if I do look at just the movie itself, it was dense for a child, 100%. But I was also dense as a child, so I don't know.
Well, I thought it was somewhat emotionally heavy, just because, I don't know, maybe because we've been so connected with our emotions now that it's just like I'm also a sucker for movies, and I always cry on those big movies that brings those emotions out and flourish out of you. And Up today, when I was finishing watching it, I was crying when there was a scene that we will talk later, but it's more when he's like going through the book, the
Memory.
adventure book, yeah, of the memories. But yeah, okay. What do you think about the opening scene? Like, why do you think Pixar,
Yeah.
which is the group that made the movie, chose to tell the story without words, like right at the beginning, like when they were like showing the life of Ellie and Carl together? Why do you think was that?
I am a complete sucker for great visuals, and animation does that,
Yeah.
right? For Pixar, some of the Pixar movies are so well written that they don't need words. Up happens to be one of those,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Because the movie uses such less words that, because it's open for interpretation, right? Like through which perspective are you looking at it? It's a visual movie. You look at Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
That's a great. The connection between those two is that they're portraying an emotion, right? So the starting scene, you see such joy, oh, such joy, and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then Disney's like, oh, I'm sorry, let me just knock that joy off of your shoulders and give you some grief. So the first initial part being soundless, being like dialogueless, is done deliberately because you're like, oh, I want to be hooked onto this. I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
Okay, yeah. Well, here's one thing though, because when people actually, like, when I talk with other people about movies, they always mention like, oh yeah, and I watched this movie, but then, oh, I don't remember this scene. And I'm always thinking like, man, they put together like an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours of a movie. They put all the important parts into that frame. So if you miss like a slip of a second of a movie, then you're missing the whole picture of it.
But that's the thing, right? Sometimes people like to elongate that shit too. So like,
don't worry about
Well-
it. It's like when they did that deliberately, of not saying anything on that opening scene there, showing the life of Carl and Ellie. I felt like it was, you don't need to say anything to show that you love someone, or that there is happiness involved, joy, and even the sad part where you see that Ellie is sick and she dies and everything, and then that's where the grief comes in and the loss comes in. You don't need to say anything, like not even for the people that are like, because people wanted to be helpful to others when they're going through these situations, and they would say like, oh, like, you're gonna go through this, it's gonna be good on the other side, like you're gonna survive, or blah blah blah. But I don't think like anyone actually wants to hear that. I feel like what they need is just like, just show your presence. You're there with them,
Yeah.
and you don't need to say anything, and I feel like that would be just fine. And that's why I think like Pixar just showed that in the sense of like, you don't need to say anything. You just need to feel that, and you just need to be present.
I think that also ties in a lot with like how, in terms of like outside psychological behaviors, like sometimes we realize like when somebody's going through a panic attack, right? Or when somebody's having an anxiety attack or something that they're dealing with, they're breathless. A lot of the times that person does not need, oh, calm down. No, calm down. The only thing that person needs is, oh, I just want you to sit next to me so that I can feel safe.
Yeah.
I just need that boundary of mine being shared with another so that I feel safe.
Yeah.
You know, when like you see like two atoms just like coming together and just coexisting in that moment, I believe that is how it is. Because when you're so vulnerable, you feel like the smallest being, right?
Yeah.
So that the point that you're putting that, oh, that person just needed somebody to come and sit next to them. Russell was that, you know, person for Mr. Fredrickson, because there was finally somebody who's like, oh, let me help you.
Yeah.
And the innocence of that child is like, oh, but I just wanted to help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that ties in with that too.
So here's another question for you though.
Yeah.
What do you think about like when Carl is carrying the house, like he's taking the house and then with the balloons and everything, do you think that was like a healthy way to process grief? Or was he holding him? Was it holding him back?
I think there is no process of grieving.
You don't think that? Yeah, I don't think there is a right process to grief. I think like everyone goes through
a different thing.
Yeah, through the different ways for sure.
Yeah.
But what did you think about that? Did you think that it was holding him back, the house, or?
Well, I just think like it was something that he was holding on to because he did not know how to let go of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think I've talked about this before, not on the show, but in general life, is how sometimes we hold on to something because that is what gives us meaning, right? For Mr. Fredrickson, the house was the only meaning left in his life because his wife had died.
Yeah.
Right? And his entire life he had poured himself onto that. Right? So we see this a lot of times with like old people in general, in, you know, in the world out there, that they hold on to things, like oldest things that are expired, because, you know, like they're like, oh no, but that attachment, right? And further down in the movie, we also see him getting detached to the house, but not in the ways that he is, oh, I am like go, but in the ways that he learns to let go, right? That he learns that he learns the skill of detachment. Yeah. But like, it's only when the movie progresses into that, the starting of it shows how much attached he is to this property of his, right? Yeah. But there are, because it's a Disney movie, we want to feel bad for this character because they're like, oh, this is his only hope, and you know, oh my god. But when you look at it through a perspective of a developer, because that's there, right? You see that the other person's just trying to do their job. Yeah. Right? They're like, oh man, I just want to get over with this. Man, why are you being so difficult? Yeah. On the same hand, there's this other person who's dealing with such grief that he's been holding on to his entire life. And you're like, oh, please, old man, just like leave the house. It's just a house. We'll give you another house. But they don't understand the sentimental value because it's that change in perspective, right? Like there's that, when you see yourself and you see big corporations and you fight with big corporations, they're like, oh, you're just another speck of dirt. Well, we're gonna cut that part out.
I don't think we should cut anything out.
Not the spec part.
Yeah. We're having a conversation, it's fine. I feel like when he did that, like when he was carrying the house, it's like you said, it's it's hard to let go.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Oh,
it's not
100%.
easy. It's not easy to
It's
let
a
go.
skill that we
Yeah.
come across, man. Like you're never born with it.
It's like when you have something like he has the house. The house is it's kind of like a metaphor there, basically, for letting it go, and it's hard because it's that idea that we maintain somewhat of a connection with the person. So, for example, for him, maintaining the connection with Ellie is the house, is like it's the house, it's her picture on the wall, it's the like their love seats I would call, like that he has his own and she has her own kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
which is beautiful to see, and then also like the adventure book, all of those little things, like it symbolizes that connection that he has with Ellie, and he just don't want that connection to break.
That's true. That's true.
Like he just wants to maintain that connection. He wants to hold on to that. It's like maybe for you guys out there, it's like maybe you lost your grandma, your grandpa, or whatever. Maybe you lost your grandma, and then your grandma had this recipe book, and you don't want to give away this recipe book. You don't want her to let go. That's kind of like a connection that you would have over there. That would be my example for that thing. But yeah.
No, I have a lot of journals that I hold on to tight, man.
Yeah.
Like, cause those, again, like when you say that attachment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's we give so much to said things, and when I mean so much, I mean like importance.
Yeah. Well, but the thing with giving the importance to little things there is just because like we are talking, it's kind of like a totem. It's a symbol.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
it's a
100%.
symbol of a loved one that you wanted to carry that symbol with you. So that's why it's hard to let go, because you use that as a symbol. You look at that and then immediately you remember that person that is just gone.
That's true.
That's why you don't
That's
want it
true.
to let go, because
It's so funny how human behavior works, right?
Yeah. It's.
And also how we depict human behavior through animation too.
But
Are you paying close attention?
you were talking about, like, you said it, and it's basically what Russell says. I mean, not Russell, but Russell actually does say that too in the movie, if I'm not wrong. Correct me, guys, if I'm wrong. But I know that Carl also says by the end of the movie, when Russell comes in and says, like, I'm sorry, Mr. Fredrickson, that you lost your house. When the house is leaving, and then he says to Russell, like, it's just a house. Like, he realizes it's just a house.
Yes.
He has that realization that you were talking about.
That aha moment in Mr. Fredrickson's life, that, oh my God, I've been attached to this.
Yeah.
It's not about being attached.
No.
But also, do you realize, like, throughout the movie, before that aha moment where he finally lets go of that attachment of his, he has gone through such a quest.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like,
I mean,
he meets that bird, he sees the talking dog, he comes across the crazy people, like crazy dogs.
Well, and he meets his childhood hero, you know, that wants to kill him later.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. But yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. And not just that point, but like that's that grief's journey, right? Because when we're talking about grief, we're talking about this grief's journey where he finally lets go of that attachment, because attachment causes grief. Aha moment.
Yeah, that attachment with the house.
When we read scriptures, we got different definitions on how scriptures work in each other's lives. But when you read the scriptures too, any scripture, I'm not just confining it to just one scripture out there, right? I'm talking about the immense amount of knowledge that we have on this planet Earth. We always see that there is an underlying reason for grief. A lot of it has to do with attachment. And attachment does not mean that this is mine, this is mine, this is mine.
Yeah.
Right? It's that skill we have to learn to let go, because when we love something, we think we can only love them when they're close to us. When love is something that we can do and go beyond. It's, interstellar, transcendental properties. But what I mean by that is that he learns that he does not have to hold on to this house because the love that he has for his wife is within himself.
Yeah.
Right? So that is such an aha moment in the movie too. So go back and watch it. This is not a sponsored movie by Disney, but Disney, kudos.
Oh, Pixar.
Pixar too. It's a Pixar movie?
Yeah, it's a Pixar movie. Yeah, you keep saying Disney, but it's a Pixar. Don't worry, guys.
I think it's on Disney Plus.
Well, yeah, it is on Disney Plus.
Okay, that makes sense. See?
Yes.
See?
Yes.
Disney Plus sponsor us.
Yes.
What were we talking about?
You were talking about like how Russell is the tipping point for Carlos on the part where, because we were talking about like how they reflect the attachment theory, right? And how Carl is, like I was explaining, emotionally numb and isolated, and then that's when Russell comes in to change Carl.
Okay. So, well, I think it's from the start of the movie, like I said.
Yeah.
It's like that first instant, because, oh my God, this dwells onto the question that I need to ask you, bro.
Then ask me.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Well, have you noticed the color change in the movie? If you're such a visual person and you're looking at a movie closely, you should pay attention to how colors work in a movie, my friends.
Okay, this is where it gets complicated for me. I mean, you guys will find out later on.
Are you colorblind?
Yes, then there you go. But here's the thing, I still can see colors, okay? Still can see colors. The problem for me are like different shades. So I get confused sometimes with green and brown. I get confused with blue and purple. Pink, sometimes I also get confused. It all depends on the shades of the color.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
That
but I mean,
question
like, for me, but hey, that's why you're here.
Okay,
You're not
okay.
colorblind.
No, I'm not.
And then
I
you can
love
explain.
colors.
Okay, so explain
I'm
to
a
me.
little bit of an artist myself, if you know me.
explain to me then how it is the transition of colors in there.
Okay, the moment Russell enters in, you can see the shift in color in the sense that Mr. Fredrickson's scene is dark. Okay, it's dim light. The contrast is low. As soon as Russell enters in, the contrast.
When he's depressed. And
yeah.
Okay.
Like when he's going into that downward spiral, you see that Russell comes in to the scene, and the clip, the side where it's Russell, it's bright yellow.
Okay.
So yellow is like that spring coming back into Mr. Autumn's life.
Yeah.
Mr. Fredrickson. So that is like that helps us navigate how the movie is going, right? Like for me, because again, like we're a lot of us out there are visual learners, right? And not colorblind. Not I'm saying.
Well, okay. Fun fact is that colorblindness, it's usually males that would have, like females are like a very small percentage. Yes, it's a very rare thing. So
girls,
it's more,
that's why we have different shades of pink: fuchsia, rose, champagne. Yeah. Also, another thing that I want to touch on. There is a letterbox scene.
A letterbox scene?
Yeah, there's a letterbox scene right before Russell enters into the scene. There's a scene where he throws a fit, where they like his letterbox, which he and his wife.
Oh yes, well like the mailbox.
The mailbox.
Yeah, the mailbox. Okay. Yeah, the letterbox. I never heard that expression before. I thought it was always mailbox. No, letterbox.
What is a mail? It's a letter.
Yes. Hey, but it comes in packages too, boxes and everything. So
Oh my goodness! But
it's a mailbox. Mailbox or letterbox? Tell me in the comments.
It's English language. English language throughout countries works different ways.
Yes,
Okay?
well, I mean, like, we're both immigrants here in Canada, so. Alright, continue. Yes, okay, letterbox mailbox. You're saying mailbox, letterbox?
Mailbox, yeah, letterbox.
Uh-huh.
Well, in that scene, when they rupture the thing, he throws a fit.
Yes, that's when he hits the guy with his cane.
Yes, and then he gets the court order, and then
Yeah.
he's upset. And right after that is when Russell, like right before that is when Russell enters in. So what I mean
Yes.
by pivotal point is that something is gonna go wrong with this main character because there's an introduction of another character in the movie. That's how movies work.
Okay.
Okay, so because see, if it's a 60-minute movie, they have to divide it according to the act and plays and the way that we have to give that aha moment in that, right? So the first 15 minutes is introduction and like how the character is going to be, what the story is going to be, and then the next 15 minutes they dwell on like, oh, what the side character is. When the side character comes in, there's a whole rupture in the scene.
Okay.
Right?
I feel like Russell provides this what do they call? Corrective? I think it is a corrective emotional experience for Carl. In a sense of like he comes in and helps him heal these emotional wounds that he has with Ellie and like the loss and grief of Ellie there. And throughout the movie you can see how it starts to building that relationship and that healing process for him because if you guys remember the movie, there is a scene where they capture Kevin, the bird, which I find it so interesting because like they find out that it is a female bird, but it's so funny when Russell looks like Kevin is a girl.
I love Russell, bro.
Right?
He's so funny.
Kevin is a girl. But yeah, so then.
Well, there's also the scene where Kevin is like right on top of the house, and like the villain, he's like, and then he goes like, Kevin.
Who's Kevin?
You took my bird.
Yeah, but yeah, so then when there's that scene when they capture Kevin, then Carl, I forgot the name of the villain there, but then when he starts the fire at the house, immediately Carl's just like forgets about everyone and then he jumps into like saving the house because of again that attachment to the house and that again like that symbolism of Ellie there, the presence of Ellie. But then when he does that, Russell comes in and then he says, "You gave up Kevin." And then you could see like how I've done that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have done that, is that you know the grief, you know what you did could have been interpreted as in being wrong, like Russell interprets it as like you gave up Kevin, so like why did you give up Kevin kind of thing. And he immediately, what he does to protect himself is like he shifts the blame to others, and then he shifts the blame to the dog, saying like, oh no, it's because of the dog, you know, like if you haven't showed up in our lives, none of this would have happened, and I didn't want to be any part of this, or blah blah blah, whatever it was, you know. So he shifts that blame. Yeah. And it's just like we do that all the time. Like when we feel attacked, when we know we did something wrong too, you know, we want to shift that blame to others, and we don't want to take it. Mm-hmm. And that's how we kind of like protect ourselves. It's a defense mechanism that we do for ourselves.
100%. I think like that blame shifting does not just happen with us when we're grieving, but it happens in general too. Like, for example, in kids, right?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's a learned behavior, right? We've seen that. Like, whatever you do at home, your child's going to do that in public. Okay, so you have to be very, very well behaved.
Yeah.
because it's a woke world we live in. But my point being that children, when they think that they're going to be punished for something, they're going to start like blaming it on others. And Mr. Fredrickson is a child in the movie, because after a certain age, at least this is what I was taught, after a certain age, old people start to behave like children, because, you know, like all of the shift comes back to them. They're like, oh, I have seen this life, I've gone through it, so I am the center of it. So their egos are big.
Yeah.
Right? Just like a child's ego. But because we're building child's ego, so it has to be big, right? But for an old person that's already big, and if they've not shattered it, it can get into their way. And we see this with Mr. Fredrickson, because his entire ego, it lies in his wife, right? And even though she has passed away, it's like you can see that he's still holding on to that perspective of his life being the house.
Yeah.
So that aha moment is not just for detachment. That aha moment is also for like, oh, it's nobody's but mine.
Yeah.
Like that blame just, you know, he rediscovers his blame.
Yeah. And the connection where you can see, for example, not from only that part, but throughout the movie, you see that like when they were building that relationship together, and how Russell is helping him heal, is because Carl starts to connect with Russell in the sense of like he starts to care for Russell. And when he starts to care for Russell, then he can see like how it is healing him, because he started to love again. He has someone to love again. Ellie is not present there anymore, and he still loves Ellie, you know, after her death and everything.
Yeah.
But he started to loving someone else. And not only Russell, but then the dog as well, Doug, and Kevin, the bird too.
We see Mr. Russell like go through his life just being in grief, and then he has that end moment where he's like, oh, I can let go of the grief.
Yeah.
Because the love that I've been, you know, holding on to, it is mine, and I can rediscover it in the ways that I like. Because even in the start of the movie, he wants to go on an adventure, because in his mind, he's like, oh, I'm going to die someday. That thought comes to his mind that, oh my God, my wife's dead, I'm going to die, I need a last adventure. That's why he goes. That's why he takes the house, because he's like, what do I have to live for now?
What do I have to lose too, right?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
It's live for much better.
I feel like what is basically the takeaway from this is that the path of healing, maybe it's not only through self-reflection, but it can be through relationships.
100%. That's why it's important, guys. Human connection is so important.
Yeah. Because, like, if you think about, like, people, when they're going through grief, it doesn't matter if it's death, divorce, breakup, whatever it is. Sometimes you be by yourself, and then you think like, okay, let me do some self-reflection. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better in different situations through the grief process? But at the same time, you can also have that healing process through relationships, like having others around you and bouncing ideas and talking to other people. Sometimes you feel like you might be a burden to someone when you're depressed, when you're grieving, and you wanted to talk to someone, and then that person, sometimes not intentionally, they don't want to hear you, but then they shift the conversation sometimes too when you're talking to them, and then you're saying like, oh, I'm sad because of this, and then they unintentionally shift.
But talking about that human connection again, we see at the end of the movie, like there's a part in the movie where Russell is also upset because he wants that validation from his dad, right? Like in terms of that kid.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that moment is so sweet. Like
when he's
And
remembering
when
like
he's remembering the dad.
like doing the things with the dad where they go grab ice cream, you know, and then they are looking like red and
Yeah.
blue cars. Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, when he finally gets the elderly badge, like all those
Oh, yeah.
badges that little poor child got was for validation of his dad.
Yeah.
Dads, can you validate your kids, please? Please.
Yeah.
Please. So what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the movie, you see that human connection that he forms with Mr. Fredrickson. Like, you know, Mr. Fredrickson, who's this old grumpy dude, he all of a sudden he becomes this father figure for Russell. Like, he shows up for Russell, and that's all that Russell needs, because he needs that personification of a father figure,
Mhm.
right? Because we all need that. We also see Russell throw a fit. We see Russell be angry when Kevin is gone, and when
Yeah.
he's like, you let Kevin go, and he throws
Yeah.
a fit, and Mr. Fredrickson's like, oh my god, what did I just do? I realized.
Yeah.
Like, it's also that Mr. Russell sees his own behavior in the child,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when we're talking about that reflection of his own mind, he sees this child did exactly what he did when he was upset when the letterbox was knocked off. Okay,
Now,
last
final question.
final question, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, let's see here.
Okay.
2 questions.
Okay.
First, what do you think finally allows Carl to release the house when there's that scene?
Say that again.
What do you think finally allows Carl to release that house?
Oh, again, it's that aha moment that it's his,
Yeah.
right? Like, he realizes that. On the same note, it's that moment because it's his last adventure,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because home is that representation of Ali in his life, he finally lets go. He finally lets.
Let go of the house? Mhm.
Yes, thank you. Words. Like, you know, you see that scene where, like, there's a whole. You see the mountain, and then you see the little house on there, and
Yeah.
then there's a picture, like, painted, that
Yeah.
they had painted it together.
Oh yeah, of Paradise
Yeah.
Falls and then the house there.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
right? So that final moment that he can let the house go was
Mhm.
not just that, oh, I can let my love for Ali go. No, he does not. You can never let go of the love that you've loved somebody, baby. But what I mean by that is that it's his last adventure with her. It's his last adventure with the house.
Yeah.
You know, starting of the movie, we see that he likes airplanes, he wants to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And he does that with the house. He flies with the house. He goes through a full adventure with the house. So it's that moment that he's like, yeah, my adventure is done. Good.
Yeah.
Our lights just cut off.
I feel like that
I think that's
The-
my aha moment.
one, like for me, my perspective of that part is that he realizes that the idea for him was going to Paradise Falls was the adventure that he wanted to do with Ali, and they never did. But when he goes inside of the house and then he's reading the book, and then he seizes the adventure book later on, the pictures of him and Ali, they getting married, they living life together and all. I think that's the aha moment that he realizes that the adventure was living with Ali and it was not going to Paradise Falls. That was his adventure. That was their adventure together. So going to Paradise Falls was basically an adventure for him and Russell, but for him to connect with himself again and then love again and be on the other side of the grief process. I
Yeah.
feel like, you know,
Mhm.
like that was his realization that the adventure was their life together and not going to Paradise Falls. Although he was hanging on to that idea of like going to Paradise Falls, when I get to there, then I will be good again. And he does become good again. Like he let go of that grief, which I think like somehow I don't think like grief you would ever let go 100%. I still
Grow around
yes.
grief.
Yeah, I still think that it's still gonna lingering there for you forever,
100%.
right? Because
100%.
like even if you lose someone that, like for example, a breakup, even if you do a breakup and then you still love that someone and then and you still and you are part, something inside of you is still gonna have like that little lingering, that little feeling of like, yes, you know, like there was a time that when we were together, it was
I hate
beautiful.
that feeling.
It was
Hate
beautiful.
it.
It was beautiful, and we were
Disgusting.
together. How can we reframe our view of life
Yeah.
when things don't go as planned?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, because
Flow
like
with the current, man. Flow with the current.
it's because if you think about it, like Carlos and Ellie's story
Yeah.
is heartbreaking, right? Because they had that idea
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like
Living
going
the
like
life that
going
they-
yeah like
yeah.
going to an adventure together, like going to Paradise Falls, doing that travel, which they never did. And I like, and if you think about it, it's always like we live life. We have these dreams of like, oh, I wanted to go like, for example, one of my dream travels that I would say that I have since I was a kid is going to Egypt. I would love to go to Egypt. I would love to see the pyramids, and because I'm fascinated about history.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but there's always like life is always happening. So there's always something happening, and then instead of using the money that you wanted to go and travel, you save that money and then you do different things because it's life. Like, oh, you pay for insurance, you like something happens in your house and then you gotta fix it. Something happens with your car and you gotta fix it too. You know, like there is someone, a family member that needs money because they like, I don't know, they're unemployed, they can't pay for like medication or whatever it is, you know, like there's always something going on that it comes as a barrier for us. And then for them it's the same thing. So like if you see on the movie something happens with their car and then they use their change, you know, to do that. Then something happens with the house. They fix the house and then they're using the money. So life is always happening and then they end up not doing what they wanted to do together, which was that travel. And I feel like people misses out also in life because it's always like this happening all the time. And in the end you don't end up going to where you want to go, do the things that you want to do, and that's where it is. That's where it is.
Oh, you make me so sad with the last question. Why did you have to do that?
But it's. I feel like because of this.
I mean, we are doing an episode on grief, so
yes.
An episode. English language. I'm gonna kill you.
But it's the idea with the movie, like reframing. For me, my view of reframing the things that doesn't go as planned for Carl, for example, and Ellie, is where comes the concept like of positive psychology. You can see that there are like, first is that part of realization where the book and their life together meant their adventure, and they were happy together. They did a lot of things together at the house, you know, the marriage and everything. All of that were little small moments of joy that made life worth it. And it's not because in the end they didn't go together to Paradise Falls that their life was not joyful. Like, not because I haven't been to Egypt yet and seen the pyramids either, that my life hasn't been joyful at all.
Yeah.
There are small moments in life that were joyful to me, and then I'm sure there are small moments to you guys too that there are joyful too. So that's where the positive psychology comes in, and that's where I can reframe the idea of like, even though life doesn't go as planned, you can still feel joy on those small little moments that happens. And those small little moments people usually don't pay attention. And there was actually an important thing where Russell says that I felt like really hits me very profoundly, which was in relation to when he's talking about his dad, and then he says like, maybe this is boring, but I feel like the boring moments are the moments that I remember the most.
Mundane life, isn't it?
Yeah, and I feel like that was something that I felt. It's like those boring moments of life. It's where those joyful moments are,
Yeah, that's true.
and that's how I would reframe it.
Oh my god. Bruno is so like sentimental
Sorry.
right now. It's amazing. It's the first episode, guys, and
Yeah,
good stuff.
but yeah, how do you see this? How would
I
you
second
frame
it. I second everything that he says, but
Yeah.
also I'm just yes, I talking about personal experience, if we are
Mm-hmm.
to end this in a great note, is it's like it's that moment in your life that you realize just because this did not happen does not mean that I'm any less than who I am right now.
Yeah.
Like movie. Carl and
Russell. Oh, Allie.
Ali.
Okay.
Oh my God! See, good. I look at him. He's so emotional. I forget my lines. They are so in love, right?
Yeah.
And then there's that heartbreak scene that she's gone away,
Yeah.
and that there's so much grief. You can see this person not having dealt with it. You can see they've been holding on to this, and there's nowhere that he realizes that he wants to put his love. At the end of the movie, when he finally lets go of the house, he figures his detachment out. He figures his, like the love, all of the love that he has, he can put it somewhere else too. Does not mean like there are not going to be people who are going to love him, because we see in the start of the movie he's very desperate for love. And not in the ways that we think that, oh my God, give me love, give me love. No, but like he wants that connection, right? Like he wants to feel another person being next to him. He wants to know. He also wants to be seen, right? Because that's what we desire the most. We want to be seen. And he sees that he can love this little child, and he can love the bird, he can love the dog. And in that moment, there's that feeling you get. You're like, oh, even though I did not get to share this with her, I do get to share this with them. And that makes it whole.
Yeah.
Right? It all comes together. So that part where you say that just because we did not experience this does not mean my joy is any less. Same principle, right?
And in the end, I feel like the message of Up, like there's a lot of grief in there, but I feel like the message of love is like the message of hope, and like there's a lot of resilience that goes through that journey.
Mm-hmm.
For Carl and for Russell, because if you think about it also, it's interesting. Like I just remembered a scene of like when Russell is trying to go up the hose to go up to the house, but he's trying and he can't. But when he sees, and it's so funny, but when he sees that Carl needs his help,
Yeah.
he has the strength to pull himself up and go inside of the house to like get the control of the house and then fly the house. So that's the resilience part that comes in, and at the same time, if you think about it, it's just like when someone needs your help, when you have that love for someone, then you would swim oceans, you would like
100%.
hike mountains for it,
100%.
and
You
then
will
just
do-
like do whatever needs to be done.
I mean, I think that's why we have such profound love stories, right? Like,
Yeah.
you do endless things for love. And in this case, it was that of a son and of a father in terms of Russell. And for Mr. Fredrickson, it was literally just himself because he's an old person. And he is discovering how to figure his ego out and shatter it and everything. Thank you for tuning in. That'll be our outro. Like, share, subscribe, comment down below whatever new movies you would like us to talk about. This is Bruno. This is Rabri.
She got all the lines and I didn't say any shit. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Peace. Bye.
Bye.